binding us together and bonding us together so that we are all on one accord and that we're growing in an effective way. And that when people come to this city, they will see us as a city sitting on a hill. And in the end, we will give you the honor. We will give you the glory. We will give you the praise. It's in the matchless, wonderful name of Jesus that I pray. Can somebody say amen?
Amen. Amen. Thank you. If you'll join me in the pledges, first to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Our first item will be a special presentation, Business of the Month. It will be presented by Sherry McDonald, Shane's assistant. So Sherry, go ahead.
Council, thank you. I want to recognize Brittany's Elite Stars as the July Business of the Month. So Brittany Wilson is a Jacksonville girl, and through her, I guess, previous knowledge of dance and cheer, she has taken her dream and started her own business, and we love entrepreneurs in Jacksonville. Brittany's started off with a different location. She's been in several different places, but she has built a new building on Cash Street, or 79 East, and it's a beautiful studio. She has a lot of students. She keeps growing. The awards that they win are unfathomable. She 9th national championship, so we should be very proud. We want to recognize Brittany's Elite Stars for her perseverance as a business owner, for her dedication to the community, offering a service that a lot of people want for their children, boys and girls, just activities for them to do, and to do it at such a high, excellent level. We are very proud, and we want to let you know how much we appreciate your business. So I want to give you your plaque, and she would love to tell you what she does. Okay, do that first.
Okay. I teach kids ages 3 to 18 years old. We do all styles: tap, jazz, ballet, hip hop, cheer, and we just started twirling last season. We just finished our 10th year. I graduated from SFA in 2013, and I opened up right after that. So this is our 10th year, and we've won 9 national championships. We just won our 9th one 2 weeks ago, and I ended last year with 175 students.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much.
Very good. Thank you, Brittany. Our next item is recognition of our Planning and Zoning Commissioner, Chairman Claude Armstrong. He was scheduled to be here, but I don't think he made it tonight. But just so you'll know, he has been the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Committee for 46 years and has served our city for that long. During his tenure, he's done incredible work, laying the groundwork for our planning and zoning. We have better rules and regulations because of his service. It's unfortunate that he didn't make it, but we've got a certificate. We've ordered him a plaque, and we will probably catch that up on our next meeting. But hats off to Claude Armstrong. He's a wonderful citizen for our community. So thank you, Claude. Our next item is citizens' participation. This is where we set aside a few minutes to hear concerns from the citizens. We can't act on any of it, but we can certainly listen. Did we have any cards turned in? No? Okay. No citizens' participation. Okay.
Oh, okay, I didn't see it.
Oh.
You emailed it to me? Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, I
okay.
haven't seen it.
Okay. Sorry about that. So if you'll come forward and state your name, your address, and then we try to keep it to about 3 minutes so we can all get out of here at some reasonable time. So.
My name is Kenya Etam
Right.
Eond I live at 238 County Road, 3116, Jacksonville, Texas. I
Perfect.
almost
All
had a
right.
little brain fart. So I'd like to use my 2 minutes to be able to ask everybody who loves District 1 to stand up. Everybody who's been working for District 1, stand up. You too, you came, you helped with working, stand, come on. You guys were building houses, repairs. You have come, you have come, you have come, okay? You have come and helped, all right? Thank you. We are here to say thank you.
Good.
Give our council a clap. I sent a letter specifically to James Hubbard and to Renissa Wade, and I would like to share it with the rest of the council so that you guys will know our sincere gratitude that we have. Dear Jacksonville City Council members, the Frederick Douglass Community Development Corporation, and residents of District 1, thank you for valuing our efforts to make our community safer, smarter, and healthier. You guys remember me coming and doing a presentation. We are actively moving forward. It is a well-established fact that people who live near playgrounds with walking trails and exercise equipment are healthier. Due to their fervent use of productive people, they tend to be safer. Those that add enrichment opportunities to the setting help the community to be smarter. The $250,000 that you guys have allocated towards the Lincoln Park renovations is going to not only be a blessing for that district, it's going to be a blessing for the whole community, because we all know that where strongholds are torn down, blessings are able to move forth throughout the community. And so we say thank you. And I think my 2 minutes are up, but they got the notes on the rest of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You guys, thank you. It takes a community to make this happen.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Eden. Our next item is our consent agenda. Items under our consent agenda require little or no deliberations by the council. Looks like we have, one total, and it's the minutes of the previous agendas, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Councilman Tim McRae, second by Councilman Rob
Second.
Goen. Any discussion? Nope. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion does carry. Item number 8 is any action out of executive session, and I think we do have one, so.
Yes, yes, Mayor, we have one motion out of an executive session, and the
Okay.
motion is to authorize the city manager to enter into a conveyance agreement pursuant to Texas Local Government Code Section 253.012 with JEDCO, and to execute a special warranty deed pursuant to such agreement on property located at 2050 North Jackson Street.
Okay. You make that in the form of a motion?
I did make that in the
Okay,
form of
you
a
did.
motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Tim McRae. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 9 is a presentation by Lee Flowers of the Cherokee County Appraisal District regarding the CCAD budget. So you've got some preliminary comments, James, and then I think.
Not really, other than
Okay.
just introducing and welcoming Chief Appraiser, Mr.
Okay.
Lee Flowers.
Great.
They have submitted their preliminary budget for City Council consideration. Their budget is basically pro rata divided amongst their taxing entities, and there's kind of two different pieces of that, but I know he'll
Okay.
shed some light on that tonight, answer some questions, and this will be acted upon at a future City Council
Right, we're
meeting.
not
So
gonna
tonight,
vote.
we're just hearing and receiving.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
Randy, I'd like to say a word first. I'm
Sure.
Chairman of that committee. And
You bet.
Want to say a few things, and then Lee can handle all the details.
Okay.
Great. Would you mind using the microphone, please, Mr.
Yeah,
Terry?
that'd be
Thank you so
great.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Again, it's great to see a lot of familiar faces. I think I know everybody here. And but anyway, I was elected to serve on the County Appraisal District Board by the county, cities, and school districts of our county. Like most people, I knew very little about how the CAD works. In a nutshell, the CAD is mandated by law and enforced by the State Comptroller's Office to value property based on current comparable sales. As we all know, the values have skyrocketed, mostly due to out-of-state buyers moving into our area. The CAD is required to be within 5% above or below what the state says they should be based on current comps. Currently, we have 5 appraisers assigning value to 47,000 plus parcels. Obviously, you have to use mass appraisal methods. There's an excellent video on the CAD website that explains how that process works. Besides being accountable to the comptroller, the CAD is accountable to its clients, who are the 6 cities, 8 school districts in Cherokee County. The 5 members of the board are men and women like yourselves who are chosen by the 15 entities that the CAD serves. Myself, Connie Holcomb, Nice, CPA from Cove Springs, Tony Johnson's manager, retired manager from the Brookshires, and Jay Jones from Alto's farmer, Joe Taylor, who's a rancher from New Summerfield. 4 out of the 5 of us have served on school boards. And so, anyway, we've got a very good, well-rounded group trying to do the best we can. Most people think the CAD is responsible for high taxes. The truth is that taxing entities, which is your counties, schools, and cities, set those tax rates that determines how much each citizen pays to support their individual budgets. The CAD's only responsibility is to determine current market value and collect the taxes that you decide are needed. With that in mind, this year's CAD budget does include funding for a new software system for both appraisal and collection operations. This includes one-time conversion costs of $232,000 and the estimated annual ongoing cost of subscription. As you all know, there's a point in the life of software that you can't get support and have to upgrade. We're at that point. We've had the same software since '99. That's 24 years. Wow. Going back to 2018, each entity was made aware that this was going to happen at some point. So over the last 5 years, as far as the upgrade, that's been in your management discussion analysis of the audit report. We held off as long as we could. But anyway, that's one of those things that has to happen. Funding for real estate market data procurement, funding for deeds and mapping services. Inflation's hurting all of us, no doubt. CPI from January to January was 6.4. Our budget increase in salaries 2.3%. Holding that as close as we can. As all of you know, it's hard to get qualified help, no matter what business you're in. Everybody here is in business doing something. Same's true for the CAD. We're having to contract services that we used to do in-house, such as deed processing services for say $72,000, digital mapping service $31,400. We're using aerial photography service that's accurate to 3 inches in town and 6 inches in the country. This is something that's available to all government agency clients. Access is internet-based. In closing my part of this presentation, I just wanted to remind you that the appraisal budget is based on tax levy dollars in each jurisdiction. The city of Jacksonville increased by $870,000 over the last year as far as the levy. And to close, unless you have questions about lumber or cattle, I'm going to leave the rest of the specific questions to Lee. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You bet. Mr. Lee, thank you. Thank you for coming.
As Mr. Tarrant mentioned, the primary driver of the change for this year is the software. This was a switch that we had originally intended to make in 2021. Obviously, the economic environment at that point in time wasn't conducive. I'm not sure any time's conducive for something like this. We were beta site number 2 on the current software back in 1998 going into 99. And we've received beta pricing for that pretty much ever since. We won't have that luxury going into the next iteration of software. So that is the biggest driver. We are funding as much as we can of this out of our reserves. We're depleting our reserves a fair amount. But I have to hang on to enough unencumbered reserve for an AC to go out or a roof to have to be repaired. So I've gone into the reserve as much as I think that we prudently can, and the remainder allocated costs going out to the jurisdictions. I mentioned we had a Zoom meeting with the cities and the county here not too long ago, and I can't remember, James, were you on that?
Yeah, Roxana and I and Renissa were on that.
One of the things that's included in the budget for this year is about $90,000 a year for pictometry. Used to be called pictometry. It's called Eagle View now. And fortunately, they will allow governmental agencies to participate in access to that. Some appraisal districts that do this charge for that access as a means to recoup the cost of it. We've decided on the board of directors to just make that available for our clients. That will be, now I want to be clear, because we've got members of the public here and some real estate agents and whatnot. That's not available to private industry. But our governmental jurisdictions can, and I think we talked on that Zoom meeting about setting up a training session. But that's costing, we're flying it every 2 years, and it's costing us about $90,000 a year. So it's about almost $200,000 a flight. One of the biggest advantages to this is not just the aerial imagery, but I showed y'all on the Zoom how you can see all 4 sides of the structure. We can measure wall height, we can measure wall length, we can do a lot of different things with it, but more than that, with the subsequent flats that come by, they will be able to digitally compare the images from the first flat to the second flat to the third flat. They'll be able to identify new structures. They'll be able to identify new additions, properties where shapes have changed, and that can be beneficial to the city as well. So that's something that I'm not sure how much use the schools will get out of it other than maybe just busing routes. But the cities, I think it could definitely benefit the cities. So we've got that. We need to set up a training session this fall to get y'all in the loop. But it's internet-based. You don't have to worry about downloading any software. So it's just log on the internet, put your password in, you're off to the races.
Mr. Flowers, is that kind of an industry standard now, that type of technology being used by different appraisal districts?
It is. We're kind of late to the show because I didn't want to spend the money. And we're in a situation now where my appraisers can really cover more ground from their desktop than being out there in the field covering the same ground. So it is industry standard pretty much among appraisal districts if you have the money to do that. And like I say, most of them are charging for access.
Sure.
Now I say we're going to provide it free of charge. If there's any non-participating governmental type agencies, we might charge them.
Sure.
When I say by participating, the city, the county, and the schools all participate to our budget, so that would be free.
Right.
I don't know what experience that y'all have had, but we have had a very difficult time finding any local qualified help that we can afford to do high skill sets such as ownership change, deeds, geographic information system, digitizing. So we've had to farm that out. That's been another hit. And finally, like Mr. Tarrant mentioned, with the property value study and the market the way it has been, we have to go out and find new sources for market data, and we have to pay for it, and that's not cheap either. So this is kind of combined to be kind of a storm, perfect storm, if you will. But keep in mind that last year we sent a notice advising our clients on gold bar paper last year. Same thing this year. And then, like Mr. Tarrant mentioned, it's been in our MD&A since the 2018 audit, which I don't necessarily expect everybody to read our audit. But we've waited as long as we could, and now we're here. He mentioned there's $200 and some odd thousand in one-time migration data conversion fees for this year, and then we'll be on to the annual subscriptions after that. So If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them if I can. We appreciate the opportunity to present to you, but are there any questions that you have that we can address?
Once you install this new software, will that change what we're used to now, going to CCAD and doing a property search? Will that still be available to the general public?
It'll still be available to the general public, be a different provider more than likely.
Okay.
Not only that, but also the tax transparency website as well may be a different provider.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that presence will still be out there.
I see.
And who all, I know that, I mean, we're buying in as the city of Jacksonville, the school district, your other cities and things like that. I look here and say it'll assist in city planning and law enforcement agencies. How is law enforcement going to use this data?
Do we really want to talk about that?
Well, I'm just curious because I know that my rights are protected over my house and that you can't fly a drone over it.
Well,
I mean, the general
what we have
public,
been
the
aware
oth-
of
yeah.
is that if you're going to have to breach a property, it's a good thing to be able to go in and look at all four sides to see what challenges you might be facing from having to do
Breach my property. You all as a taxing entity or law
I
enforcement?
thought you were asking about law enforcement.
Well, I am. I mean, as a private citizen, I mean, what are my I mean, there are things that fly over my house every day. Google Earth is free. I don't have to pay $300,000 to look at my house on Google Earth, or I don't have all that kind of stuff, and I'm not trying to pick up, I don't have any weed growing in my backyard. You're not gonna find any, so, I mean, but still,
feel like I'm
just
stating the
from a
obvious.
civil. Yeah, well, I mean, aerial photography, and you and I've never had this discussion on what you all use for aerial photography or things like that, but what are our rights as private citizens to a private airplane from a private company flying over our property and taking 3- and 4-dimensional pictures that can tell him how many feet my wall grew on the outside of the house? Where am I protected constitutionally from that kind of invasion of privacy?
I'm certain that aircraft is flying at probably 20 or 30,000 feet and with high-speed photographic equipment.
And I'm in my hot tub chilling on a Sunday afternoon when it flies over? Sorry, somebody's gonna see some funkiness. Yeah,
And it's low.
Take out obscure figures.
okay, because it would be obscure.
We use CAD every single day on property searches, on maps, on parcels, every single day, from code enforcement to major crimes to murder investigations. We use it every single day.
Yeah.
So this, from what I'm understanding what he's saying, is going to help us tremendously as well. And it'll be a 2-year flight, and our parcel layer is overlaid with that. So you've got what you've got on the internet on steroids. The other thing that we,
Who has access to this data?
well, the appraisal
Governmental.
district and then any of the participating jurisdictions.
But as a taxpayer, right now, I can access my property values. I mean, are these digital images going to be available for the general public, or? I
Not to
mean, they
the-
kind of have to be if you're an entity that, I mean, it's kind of, I guess I have freedom to have looked at what you've looked at.
Well, probably not with the functionality that we will have available to us in the jurisdictions. Now, we may be able to overlay just the general area. But keep in mind that when it comes to Public Information Act, commercial source data is not subject to the PIA. But as far as answering your question, I don't have the answers to it. I mean, it really wouldn't be any different than Google Street View and them taking a picture of a vehicle that's not supposed to be there in your driveway when daddy's at work.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not on the property. So I don't know the legal aspects from that perspective. What I do know is we get more and more and more. People have realized that if I put a lock gate up and I build my house where you really can't see it, that we can't go on there, and I throw a $400,000 number on there and it's worth $8. You're not going to come in and tell me anything about it till I get somewhere close to $800,000. Those days with this will be over. because we will be able to see behind the veil.
And what's the return on the investment? I know this is a private company that's selling you something. I know that when we deal with software and, we put in our electronic water meters and, we have a return on our investment. What is this company's, are they guaranteeing you an ROI or?
No, sir. Every appraisal district that I have talked to really talks up the aspect, that they added so much value to the role that it more than paid for the cost of the flight. And I'm sure that may be true. What I don't know is after that first, year or so of properties that maybe you didn't know were there, I don't know how that works after that as far as an ROI perspective. So I've not really gone off into those weeds. What I know is that we need this as a tool to be able to get to the properties, so to speak, that we can't get to otherwise, to be able to make sure that your property and your property are equally assessed, in terms of, us knowing or not knowing what's there.
And are we targeting properties? Are we
No.
just doing random overflights and?
No, it's a whole grid flight, so it's the entire county. The entire county's flown in grids. So they're able to take that imagery and have a north, south, east, and west exposure perspective of each property like I showed you on the Zoom.
Right.
So the entire county was covered, and I'm paying for more resolution in the municipalities than I am out in a rural area. I think it's 3-inch resolution
And
in town,
6-inch.
6-inch resolution
Yeah.
out.
Mr. Flowers, I do have a couple of questions for you. So our pro rata share of the increase is the $32,000 and some change, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so am I understanding you to say that this increase is primarily being driven by the software that you all are implementing?
The bulk of it, yes.
And so this first year is kind of it's kind of front-loaded as far as the software is concerned. The data import that you've got to do, and then from there, that will hopefully taper off. So this increase of $32,000 that we're seeing this year, this isn't an ongoing increase, year-over-year increase that we should expect. Obviously, it's going to go up. It'll be higher than what it has been because you've got this new software. But is this kind of a one-shot in the arm increase, or?
Well, let's just say that the migration cost is a one shot in the arm.
Okay.
The reason I'm a little hesitant to answer anything about the allocation, because that allocation changes from year to year. People go up on their levy, down on their levy. Who knows what's going to happen with the school levies right now with the new law that's passed? So that's a great example. If the school levy goes down because of the higher homestead exemption,
Right.
well, then that shifts the entire board. Because it's all your total levy as a percentage of all levies.
Okay.
So as those change, yours could go up, it could go down. So there's a lot of fluctuation. That's why I'm a little hesitant to say.
I got you.
But what I will say is the 232 is a one-time migration cost.
Okay.
But we're trying to cover $156,000 of that on our funding balance of what we're trying to cover on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Piece of it.
So,
Okay. And not asking you to have a crystal ball, obviously, but right now, we'll have free access to it. The city will and the school districts will. Do you anticipate that being the case moving forward, at least in the near future, or do you anticipate at some point it becoming fee-based?
I can't see our board or myself pushing a fee-based system. I guess the only thing that would kind of push us in that direction would be if the schools decided, hey, why aren't we paying for that? We're not going to use it. Then the jurisdictions might be able to say, hey, let the ones that are going to use it help pay for it. But I've not heard anything like that. Of course, this is all brand new at this point. But what I can say, I think with the board that we have now and the kind of people that we have on the board and myself, we're not going to change streams later on. It'll take some impetus like that to force us into that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. We really do. Thank you, Mr. Tarrant. You bet. Our next item is number 10, a public hearing to hear and receive input regarding a requested zone change from A, single-family to E, multifamily, high-density, located at Lot 2A and 3B of the Jacksonville Pines subdivision on Tally Nichols Drive. Mr. James?
Yes, Mayor, City Council, this property was actually rezoned at the February 8th, 2022 meeting. And at that time, it was rezoned from E multifamily to A single family. The request before the council this evening is basically to undo that, if you will, and it's to go back from single family to E multifamily, which is the city's highest intensity multifamily zoning district. It is 2 parcels totaling approximately 5.5 acres. You see that there on the location exhibit on Tally Nichols Drive. Many would know Tally Nichols as the entrance to Norman Industrial Park from Highway 69. Looking at the P&Z meeting that was held on June 20th, 2023, we had 1 member absent, but of the members present, they recommend denial of this rezoning request at a 3-to-1 vote. So City Council action tonight, per Texas Local Government Code, Section 211006, subsection F, would require a 3/4 vote of the City Council to go against that recommendation, which would effectively be a 4/5 vote this evening. I know that at that meeting on June 20th, I was not present, but per the minutes taken, there were several individuals that came out from a single-family neighborhood just to the south, South Ridge, I believe is the name of that neighborhood, with concerns about not only just the density, but also potential drainage and things of that nature, as well as the applicant's desire to go to 3 stories. That would be essentially the zoning ordinance requires that the structure be no higher than 35 feet or 2.5 stories. So they would, the applicant would actually need a waiver via a separate board to go to 3 stories. So it's kind of separate from the zoning aspect, but it was still taken into account at the June 20th Planning and Zoning meeting. You do have a letter before you from the applicant kind of addressing maybe some of those drainage concerns, talking about bringing an engineering firm in to assess drainage. And with that, I'll answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. James up front?
And James,
We do have a public hearing on this as well.
Okay.
Please.
Oh, okay, so are they asking questions?
At some point, we'll need to open a public hearing and allow for comments.
Well, y'all go first.
Okay. So at this time, I'll open a public hearing. If there's anybody out that would like to speak in favor of or against, if you'll approach the podium, give us your name and address and tell us what's on your mind.
Yes, sir. My name is John Barnes. I live with my wife at 210 Bellevue Lane. We had an opportunity to speak at that zoning hearing recently, and that was a real privilege. And it's a privilege to be before y'all this evening, and to the mayor and the council, thank you for this opportunity. My wife, Mary, who's with me this evening, and we moved to Jacksonville from Rusty House. Well, maybe not. No, I used to work there. Sorry, Freudian slip. But they discharged me, so I guess we can move. I'm kind of nervous. I haven't done any public speaking in years.
It's okay.
Anyway, we moved from a very small garage apartment in Rusk. It served the purpose at the time, but God blessed us with an opportunity to buy a home in Jacksonville. I didn't even know that subdivision was even over there, and I drove up and down 69 a lot. But let me tell you, if you haven't been to that neighborhood, it's a charming neighborhood. I think it could serve as a model for future building for folks that maybe can't buy a mansion but can buy a nice home to live in. Love the neighborhood, love the families around us. It's got retirees like me. It's got like young families with kids. It's got the whole influx, and it's really a remarkable part of the city. And so my 2 concerns would be this, that I know that interest rates, mortgage rates have gone sky high, and that has certainly done, put the pressure down on people being able to follow our opportunity to buy a home. But I would hope, first of all, that area behind us where we live could be saved or reserved or used for future similar home structures like the ones we have a pleasure of living in. My second, maybe more factual concern would be that I'm 66 years old, retired. I really don't want to move anymore. It's a lot of work and time and expense, and I love the place where we live and where we live. And Jacksonville is a city, a very nice town to live in. But I'm concerned that should this be approved for the apartment housing to be built in, that would lower our property value, and that's my only other factual concern about this. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak before you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else like to speak in favor of or against? We got one coming in, Mike. You'll be next.
My name is Jennifer Thomas. I am at 234 Valley View Lane. The apartment complex will be right behind my house. So I'm not really thrilled saying property values will change for me. I have lovely trees behind my house. It's quiet, no problems, and I'm worried about the property value. This is my first home, my first city council that I get to come to and be a part of, so that's been fun. I tried to sell my house and had struggled already. And I actually dropped and was not able to sell my house. And so I'm already struggling in that department, and so that would be really upsetting if I do need to move for my job for any reason. I would not be able to. Two, I know the apartment complex very well. I kind of stayed there for a few months before moving, and great concept that they have there. It's for low-income families, half of them senior citizens, the other half, probably mostly what I saw was a lot of parents with multiple children that need that help. And I do applaud the place. It's very clean. It's very nice. The pool does not work at all, which is kind of sad for all the children that live in that area. But they already have just 2 people covering it, so I'd be worried about them extending that apartment complex and not being able to care for it properly. The third would be, since I am right behind it, water flows in the middle of my house and my neighbor's house and goes straight back there. If they build up like they build up the other ones, I really worry that that water is going to backflow right into my house. So I really hope the engineering thing would happen, but I would question if that would happen because I've been in previous apartment complex where that was not addressed and all of our houses were flooded. And then fourth would be that the 3-story thing really freaked me out because that would be looking right into my house.
Yeah.
So my big concern would be all those 4 components, and I do agree with my neighbor. I have seen you walk around our neighborhood. It is a very charming neighborhood. I would have no problems with single family being behind me, but I would have a huge problem with having an apartment complex looking directly into my house that I bought. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Mike?
I was involved in the sale of both the current apartment complex and this land that's available. And I have some vague recollection that the owners of the current apartment complex placed a deed restriction on the property, not allowing more multifamily. So I'm going to research that when I get back and see if it is in fact recorded in the deeds. Because I know at one point they were going to do multifamily and then they changed it to single family. And it may have been because of that. So I'll research that and let you guys know.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
I will keep this short. My basic 3 concerns from the last month's meeting was the crime, the traffic, and the stress on the grid. I think my electricity concerns are my most plaguing ones that I'm very stressed about. When we first bought our house in January of 2019, it was very rarely seldom we had a power outage. And then about 1.5 years ago, they knocked down a lot of the trees and they added a whole 2 rows of new houses. And that new street is Summit Cove, I believe. They added 18 homes. And ever since they added the 18 homes, our power is constantly going out. So I had the liberty of calling Encore to see if they could send me something like a record of how many times my electricity has been out since we moved in. And the Encore people said they could only go back 1 year. So between my phone crashing and losing a lot of text messages, I'm only able to go back 1 year as well. I do have copies of my text messages every time my power goes out. Encore is in contact with me through text messaging. So between June of last year to June of this year, my power has been out 7 times at my house. And that's very inconvenient because you never know, okay, is my power going to go out this week? I don't want to lose all my groceries. We go light on our groceries. We just gotten to the point where we don't buy a whole lot of groceries anymore. We just keep enough in there just to keep us through a few days. And if, you know, my husband had to throw out his Bluebell ice cream, you know, things like that. So, you know, groceries are not cheap, you know. To lose your groceries is a very distressing thing. So I was concerned about the grid, and at the meeting last month, they said the apartment complex is going to be a 3-story, high-density apartment complex, and they're only allowed to add, I believe, 20 households per acre, and it's 5 acres, so we calculated that, and that's, you know, that's a lot of homes being added in such a small space. So they said it would affect 3 houses on our street at Valley View. I don't know if I mentioned my address. My address is 210 Valley View Lane. There's a curve right up a few houses over from ours, and they said the apartment complex is going to be tied into those 3 homes right there at the curve. And I don't know how it can only affect those 3 homes because we're like building blocks. We're just side by side. You know, all our houses are like 20 or to 30 feet apart. So I don't see how it could only affect those 3 homes. We're all in the same grid and share the same power lines. So my concerns mostly were for the grid, the stress on the power lines, because I heard the transformer blow one day and it was like this time last year, and it's very hot. I don't want to be without my electricity. Plus the traffic, there needs to be a red light out by the apartment complex because getting in and out is very scary. And of course crime. If it's a low-income housing complex, I don't want any troubles with my new house. You know, I would like to see Jacksonville grow and expand. You know, all in favor of people getting affordable housing. I just think this apartment complex would go much better in Rusk. You know, they had a 4 to 5 year wait list on the local news that housing is very hard to find in Rusk to find a place to live. So I'm thinking, okay, well, this apartment complex would go much better in Rusk because you have the state hospital, you have the 2 prisons. Housing there is very limited. I just thought, in my opinion, that would be much better in Rusk. But, you know, that's not my decision. But my 3 concerns was the power grid situation, the traffic, and any possible crime it could bring. So that was my 3 concerns, and I just brought my printout. I don't know if y'all guys want this.
Oh, that's fine.
But that's just my concerns.
Thank
But
you.
Thank you for hearing me out.
You bet.
You're welcome.
You bet. Anyone else speak in favor of or against? Okay, seeing none, we'll close this portion of the public hearing. And item B is to discuss and consider with possible action an ordinance granting the requested zone change. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny the request.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Tim McRae, second by Councilman Rob Goen to deny the requested zone change, which goes along with P&Z.
That's correct.
Okay. So is there any discussion need to be had?
My whole, I mean, from my standpoint and my backing of denying this, I mean, the 5 of us up here, we don't have any more information than you people do.
Right.
I mean, we don't know if it's 2-story, we don't know if it's 3-story. I suppose that Randall's done some research on our utilities and our water and our sewer and all that kind of stuff, but, I mean, all we get to do is go yes or no on zoning. We don't have any input on
What eventually ends
this
there.
is.
Correct.
And, you know, that being said, if this gentleman, this developer wants to come back to us with more concrete information, visuals, diagrams, things like that, that I can look at and see, I'd be more than willing to consider being supportive of it. But, you know, we're given an A or B option here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna err on the side of caution.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I agree, Rob. I think that's very well said. I think we obviously want new development to come to our town. We need housing for everyone along the entire income spectrum. That being said, we want it to be developed responsibly, and we want it to be a good fit wherever it goes. And so I agree, Rob, with a little bit more information and insight, I think, from the developer and what they intend on doing with this property would be very helpful.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second to deny the request. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 11 is another public hearing to hear and receive input regarding a requested special use permit to allow for a veterinary and animal hospital located at Lot 1 of the Ricky L. Brown addition located on East Rush Street. Mr. James.
Yeah, Mayor, City Council, this item was also considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their June 20th meeting. Again, it's for the request of a special use permit. It's generally kind of referred to almost as an overlay, if you will. Your underlying G commercial zoning district stays in place, and then you would get on top of that your special use permit for the veterinarian and animal hospital. It's approximately 4.45 acre tract of land on East Rusk, headed toward Palestine on Highway 79. You see there again that the G zoning, per the zoning map, would stay. And at the June 20th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously voted to approve or recommend approval of this zoning request. This will also require a 4/5 vote by the City Council to ratify the recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission because it is a special use permit.
Okay. Okay. So at this time, we'll open up a public hearing. If anyone wants to come and speak for or against, now's your time. So if you'll come and tell us your name and tell us what's on your mind.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Youngblood. I actually live in White House, but I work for DeHart Vet Services.
Okay.
So I'm representing her this evening. What we were asking for at the meeting actually is because she has a trailer that she brings in. She was always over at the farm and ranch.
Right.
And what we were asking for is that she can park her trailer there once a week on this lot until she can build the facility, because there's a restriction to understand that she couldn't park the trailer there or something. And I'm sorry, I don't know exactly. I was at that last meeting, so what we're asking is that she can park the surgery trailer there every Sunday from, I think they park at 8, they're usually gone by 5 or 6, every Sunday, and then occasionally she'll have special clinics that she'll do there. So the request is something about the food trucks thing, but
Yeah, and I think James talked to us about that.
Yeah, Mayor, City Council, we did discuss that briefly on Thursday. So this is for the SUP because a veterinarian or animal hospital requires an SUP in any commercial zoning district. In addition to that, then they will apply for, and we've already kind of looked through all the itinerant vendor ordinance to comply with that, since they're operating from what's kind of a mobile unit at this point in time.
Okay.
And again, per our discussion on Thursday, it would be my recommendation that we include some type of clause in the SUP that they start construction on a permanent facility within like 24 months, or pull a building permit within 24 months.
Right, okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Anyone else like to speak in favor of or against? If not, we'll close the public hearing and go to the second item, which is to discuss and consider with possible action an ordinance granting the requested SUP. So I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve the special use permit to allow for the veterinary and animal hospital located at Lot 1 of Ricky Lane Brown Addition.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Letitia Horse.
Would she want to add that need to have to pull a permit for permanent construction within 24 months?
That would be advisable.
Probably so.
Oh, okay, and to add that they are required to pull a permit for new construction within 24 months.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, so we have a motion.
Second.
Second, okay, by Councilman Tim McRae. So any discussion? Everybody understand?
Is she on board with this? I I mean, I don't know, is this a blank lot right now? Is there
Yeah.
a pavilion or?
No, it's just a blank piece of property out there.
Blank piece of property?
Yeah. Almost across from Mary Lou's ice machine
Yeah.
kind of.
So it's a for sale sign, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's that little field that's
Right.
kind of there.
I think the highway department may use it for that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But our whole deal is, I'm a city councilman, I have a food truck, I have an itinerant vendor permit on my mobile unit. But our whole idea with doing this is, within 2 years.
Build a
start
permit.
Construction on a permanent
Right.
facility.
I'm sorry, I don't know about the
Yeah.
24-month thing. I'm just kind of here representing her.
Right.
Someone talked with her about that.
Yeah.
That's kind of my.
I know the building official has talked to her about her intent to ultimately construct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
So
good.
per the city ordinance, an SUP issuance, basically pre-construction, because a lot of times you want to get your entitlement pre-construction, talks about a 6-month requirement to get a building permit. So we're actually giving an 18-month extension here prior to pulling the building permit.
I see.
And so she's aware that she has 24 months to pull the building permit so that she can get new construction started.
She will be. She's getting this done prior to purchasing the property.
And actually, if circumstances were to change or something comes up, we can revisit an SUP, right?
That's correct. It would require re-notification and public hearings, but that's correct. They can be reissued, if you will.
Okay. Okay. So, did we make a motion in a second? We got a motion in a second, now we're discussing, any other discussion? No. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 12 is to discuss and consider with possible action a resolution approving the submission of an application for a grant from the Texas Parks and Wildlife to construct a walking trail and exercise equipment at Lincoln Park. Mr. James.
Yeah, Mayor, City Council, since we discussed this on Thursday, we do still want to make application, which the deadline is August 1st, so we needed to take action on this evening. However, we are going to recommend at a staff level that we fund the trail with cash on hand and get that going relatively soon after some additional due diligence is performed, and that via this grant we apply for some other enhancements to Lincoln Park. So potentially restrooms, those don't necessarily score quite as high as a recreational facility would on the grant application. They're supporting infrastructure, but we have some opportunities to possibly add some ADA play elements and other things, and just try to leverage our dollars while we're spending cash on hand to invest in Lincoln Park.
Okay. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion.
I would be honored to make a motion. Do I need to read this resolution as it stands, or? I do?
Yes.
Okay.
I would just read the caption here.
Right here.
Oh, okay. So I make a motion that we approve approve for staff to submit a grant for the Lincoln Park Grant Program Resolution Number 07-2023-01, authorizing an application.
Okay. Perfect. We have a motion by Councilwoman Letitia Horace, second by Mayor Pro Tem Tim McRae. Any discussion? I think this will allow us to go ahead and spend our money to get the walking trail where we don't have to wade through all the red tape and get something going out there now.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, and I just want to commend staff on just looking at this 12 different ways from Sunday to figure out the highest and best use for this grant. I'm really excited. I know the community is really excited to get this going. So, yeah.
okay, I'll call the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 13 is to discuss and consider with possible action approving the purchase of information technology infrastructure over $50,000 using ARPA funds.
Yeah, Mayor, City Council, no pictures here. It's kind of boring stuff, but it's 2 different server racks and the necessary storage that sits on them and some switches. The technology equipment that we have in place for this right now, we actually received as kind of a hand-me-down, if you will, through an interlocal agreement with the City of Tyler. It's well over 10 years old. It's past its useful life, if you will. This is an opportunity using ARPA funds to replace that information technology infrastructure both here at City Hall as well as at our public safety complex to have redundancy, as well as the fact that we have a generator at the public safety complex. So And we're looking to potentially add a generator for isolated pieces of City Hall here as well to make sure that our IT is sufficiently backed up and secure.
Okay. Do we have we'll discuss in a minute, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of IT infrastructure with our ARPA funding.
Okay, have a motion by Councilman Rob Goen,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Mindy Gallup. Now, the discussion, any discussion? Approximately it's 69, 70,000, is that about right?
That's correct. Affirmative, yeah, it's about $67,000, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, all right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. I think item 14, I think we're going to skip till next meeting. We're pending some more information on that item. Is that
Thank you,
okay?
Mayor, that's correct.
Okay. Item number 15, to discuss and consider with possible action a District 1 appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah, Mayor, City Council, at the top of the order, we recognize Mr. Claude Armstrong for his service on the Planning and Zoning Commission. We hope that he'll be able to join us next month to receive an award from you, or a plaque. But I believe that Councilwoman Horace is ready to make a nomination for council ratification to an appointment on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I am. Thank you, James. Thank you, Mayor. I am very excited to nominate or appoint Raymond Franklin for District 1 City Council Representative, for District 1 Planning and Zoning Commission representative. So Raymond is a native of Jacksonville, born and raised here, born and raised and grew up in District 1. And has just been a phenomenal community member and just someone that I think is going to do a fantastic job on our planning and zoning. He has a heart for Jacksonville and just wants to see what's best for our community and for our city. So Raymond has worked with Republic Services for nearly 20 years. Wow. Doesn't look old enough to have had a job for 20 years, but yeah, for nearly 20 years. He's an active member in his church. And an active member with the Citizens Police Academy. So really excited to make this nomination for Raymond.
Okay, very good. So I'll entertain a motion. Would you like to turn that into a motion?
Sure, Mayor. I make a motion that we accept Raymond Franklin as the District 1 appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Letitia Horace.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Mindy Gallup. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Thank you for your willingness to serve. We appreciate it. You bet. Item number 16 is to discuss and consider with possible action a mayoral appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission Chair. Earlier, we recognized Claude Armstrong. He's retiring from that position. It's my responsibility to appoint a chairman, and my suggestion, and I have talked to her, is Elaine McDonald to fill that chair position. So that would be my recommendation, and I guess I'll make that as a motion, that I appoint Elaine McDonald as the new chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
Second by Councilman Tim McRae. Any discussion we might have? We talked a little bit at our workshop about seniority, and the person that serves on that committee is Brenda Stalin. She has the most seniority. I called her just out of respect and talked to her about it, and she gave me a resilient no. She loves to serve, but she did not want the chairmanship, which took me to the second seniority, which was Elaine, and she was thrilled. So, okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion does carry. All right. Open forum for mayor and council. Anybody have anything to say?
I do, Mayor.
Good.
I just want to add, again, just want to say that I am so extremely excited for the renovation efforts that are underway at Lincoln Park. There are so many people to thank for that effort. A lot of those people are in this room tonight. Want to especially just say a special thank you to Dr. Kenya Adam, as well as the Fred Douglass Community Development Corporation. You guys have really jumped in here and are spearheading this effort, and we really appreciate it. And then just also want to thank the city of Jacksonville for coming alongside this community and saying, you know, we want to see this development happen too. We want to see these renovations take place. So we really appreciate it as a community, as a whole, as a community. And then also just want to say a thank you to staff for the Spanish translation that has been provided tonight. So I talked with James and Renessa about that and just wanted to see that come to light. I went to a meeting, it was an orientation at JISD, and they had Spanish translation running across the screen, and I thought, this is amazing. So I just think it's great that we've been able to add this element to our meetings, and I really appreciate y'all making that happen. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Yeah.
We have no idea how accurate it is.
Mike McEwen.
Use the word discussion.
Thank you. Thank you.
But in Spanish, discussion means argument.
Those are,
You know,
Okay.
depending on the
Call
conversation.
it, in Spanish, you say commentary, comentario.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, we got a thumbs up in the back, so
Yeah, that's good.
if that's the only discrepancy you found, Mike, I think we're probably doing pretty good.
Probably pretty good, yeah.
Great.
That's great. And to follow up on her comment, that Fred Douglass Community Group, they have a website, a great website. If you're interested in contributing to that, I think you can do that. You can click and make a contribution. And there's power in numbers. If we could all just give a little bit, it goes a long way. So
FDCDC.org.
there you go. All right. There you go. City Manager report, Mr. James?
Yeah, just a couple comments. I appreciated the plug on the translation there. It's our first time to try it. We should have the TVs overhead available for use at our August meeting. I think that'll make our presentations even more visually pleasing for the audience. We want to make sure that you know what kind of actions we're taking. And so we just started using presentations about 2 years ago, and I think it's been a welcome addition to the meetings. Yeah, and we'll be able to see one too, right?
Exactly.
So with that, I do want to mention that Chief Fortner has retired as our fire chief after about 22 years of service to the city of Jacksonville. He was unable to be here this evening to accept recognition, but we look forward to recognizing him at our August City Council meeting. So we wish him well in his retirement and as he kind of takes next step in his life. But anyway, we're in transition. We have posted for a fire chief position. It's on multiple different websites, including the city website. So if you know anybody interested in that, make sure and tell them. I will say we've had quite a few applicants already in just a few days that it's been posted. Splash Day, which is a fire department event, will be held July 29th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Nichols Green Splash Pad. So join the fire department and some of your favorite firefighters out there for Splash Day, along with tacos from Taqueria Torres. I believe Jedco sponsors the meal there, so we appreciate their support in that.
No. Not this year, maybe next year. Maybe next year.
So we're starting to see quite a good progress at the Civic Center. We have a Civic Center manager that we'll announce soon, looking to start August 1st. Renovations are kind of underway. We're in the demo phase right now, which is, to me, kind of the most fun phase. Next week, we'll be meeting with the Civic Center Renovation Advisory Committee and some interior designers with the architectural firm to help start picking out swatches and colors and making it a space that we all look forward to gathering in. You're seeing the progress of Hazel Tilton Park here just to the west of City Hall and that renovation. I want to commend our staff. Everything you've seen to date with the fire station coming down and the grading work and all those things has been a cooperation between our own employees and then the county for a lot of the hauling. So anyway, we're trying to do everything that we can in-house to control costs and make sure that it's a great space for the community to enjoy, hopefully by wintertime this year. So it's a work in progress, but looking forward to that. So we'll see some streets coming online and some of those improvements soon as well. So we're going to start seeing the fruits of a lot of the labor and the groundwork that the council's been laying.
That's great. Okay. Anything else from anyone? If not, we'll stand adjourned at 7:05. Thank you for your participation.